Welcome back, artistic ladies and gentlemen, to another Meta Monday episode in this Pokémon TCG Online series, where we take a look at competitive decks from the past or the present in a Pokémon TCG Online meta, as well as decks that might become a part of the meta in the future. Today I bring you a Darkrai Giratina Garbodor deck, a deck that very recently surfaced and kinda took the Pokémon community by surprise by how well it performed in an Origins tournament, I believe. If I'm not mistaken, it got 3 top 8 finishes, which is pretty decent for any deck. We are going to start off the analysis by taking a look at Darkrai-EX, the 180 HP Darkness Pokemon with the Dark Pulse attack, which hits for 20 damage for a DCE and does 20 more damage for each Darkness Energy attached to all of your Pokemon. This is the attack that we are going to be focusing on. We also have the Dark Head attack, hits for 80 and 80 more if our opponent's active Pokemon is asleep, but we are very rarely going to use that. One of the reasons for that is if we have 3 Darkness Energies attached to Darkrai, Dark Pulse hits for the same amount of Dark Head, so there's no advantage to Dark Head. The only advantage to Dark Head is if our opponent puts his own Pokemon to sleep, for example if it is a Snorlax or a Wailord, because we have no means in this deck to put our opponent's Pokemon asleep. So Dark Pulse it is. Why are we combining Darkrai-EX with Giratina-EX, Giratina-EX with the Chaos Wheel attack for 100 damage, and then our opponent cannot play any Pokemon Tool cards, any special energies, or any stadium cards from his or her hand during his or her turn. Also has the Renegade Pulse ability, preventing damage and any effects from attacks done to Giratina-EX by Mega Evolution Pokemon. This Giratina-EX is a Dragon Pokemon, so what's the deal here? Why are we combining it with Darkrai-EX? And the answer to that is the use of double Dragon Energies. I play 4 double Dragon Energies in this list in combination with 9 Darkness Energies. And these double Dragon Energies, they provide every type of energy, but only 2 energy at a time, only while this card is attached to a Dragon Pokemon. So if we attach a double Dragon Energy to Giratina-EX, then these double Dragon Energies act as Darkness Energies, meaning that we add 40 damage to the attack damage from the Dark Pulse for every double Dragon Energy that we have in play, and that way we can easily reach big damage numbers like 170 or 180 damage, certainly in combination with the Max Elixir here, 4 copies of Max Elixir, so that we can accelerate Darkness Energies onto our Darkrai for the Dark Pulse, as well as onto our Giratina-EX, because we can attach 2 Darkness Energies and then 1 double Dragon Energy, and just like that the Giratina-EX is powered up. It is actually possible to power up a Giratina-EX in your first turn and hit for a Chaos Wheel in your first turn if you go second. It's not exactly easy, but it's definitely possible, and it happens in some games. So that is why we combine Giratina with Darkrai. Then why is Garbodor in this deck? Garbodor is more of a utility Pokemon. We are not going to be attacking with Garbodor. Garbodor has the Garbotoxin ability. If this Pokemon has a Pokemon Tool card attached to it, each Pokemon in play in each player's hand and in each player's discard pile has no abilities. And that also includes our Giratina. It's important to remember when you're facing something like Mega Mewtwo, you don't typically want to play down your Garbodor because you will shut off your own Renegade Pulse ability, for example. So Garbodor is going to be used in this deck to counter decks like Greninja Break, to counter possibly an item lock deck like Trevenant if you can get your Float Stone on Garbodor, because we are going to Float Stone Garbodor to activate the Garbotoxin ability. You could also attach a Muscle Band or a Fighting Fury Belt. I do run 2 Fighting Fury Belts and 1 Muscle Band, but ideally you want to put a Float Stone on the Garbodor so you can also freely retreat it and preserve your Fighting Fury Belts as well as the Muscle Band for the Darkrai-EX and the Giratina-EX. Possibly also the Baby Yveltal, one copy of Baby Yveltal with the Oblivion Wing. We can hit for 30 damage and at the same time attach a Darkness Energy from our discard pile to one of our bench Pokemon, which is typically going to be the Darkrai or the Giratina-EX. So as I was saying, Garbodor is a counter against Greninja Break, against Trevenant Break if we can get a tool card on our Garbodor at the start of the game, or on the Trubbish, because Garbodor does evolve from Trubbish, a 2-2 line of Trubbish and Garbodor. It's also counter against Vespiquen Vileplume. Again, we need to get the Float Stone on the Garbodor or on the Trubbish before my opponent evolves into Vileplume. And it's also a great counter against decks that just run Shaymin. If we can set up our Garbodor, we prevent our opponent from using his own Shaymin, even in the mid and the late game. I do run Shaymin myself, 2 copies of Shaymin in my deck to set up a little bit easier to draw through our deck to find our max elixirs. Garbodor can also be used to shut off a free retreat that Manaphy gives to the Pokemon in the Water Toolbox deck. If you're up against the Water Toolbox deck, you will want to get out your Garbodor, shut off that ability from the Manaphy so that your opponent cannot switch between Seismitoads as easily and heal off damage with the Rough Seas. It's also great to shut off the Metalinks from Bronzongs. Basically, it's great against any deck that somewhat, some way relies on abilities, and there's plenty of decks out there at the moment like that, and that is exactly why Garbodor is in this list and why it is such a great addition. And that's also one of the main reasons why this deck took the meta, or took the Pokemon community kind of by surprise, because of the addition of this Garbodor. It is one of the key cards in this deck. Then we also have 1 copy of Hydreigon with the Dragon Road ability, giving each Dragon Pokemon, or decreasing the retreat cost of each Dragon Pokemon by 2 colorless energy. So basically giving the Hydreigon itself 1 retreat cost and Giratina a 1 retreat cost. If there is any Stadium card in play, which typically there will be in most games. And then also the Shred attack, 80 damage for a Psychic, a Darkness, and a Colorless Energy, and this attack's damage isn't affected by any effects on your opponent's active Pokemon. Hydreigon-EX is in this deck for one and only reason, and that is to counter Jolteon-EX and to counter Regice. If you are up against those Pokemon, Hydreigon-EX is going to be our go-to Pokemon. We can power it up with our Darkness Energies, with our Max Elixirs, and with our Double Dragon Energies. And we can even shuffle it back into our deck if it got knocked out using the Super Rod. Super Rod is going to be our one and only way to shuffle back Pokemon and energies from our discard pile into our deck. Then let's have a look at the draw support. We have 4 Sycamores, and 2 N for draw support. Pretty standard in addition to the Shaymin. 2 Ultra Balls to get out our Shaymin, and then 3 Trainer's Mail to look for our draw supporters, as well as our VS Seekers, so can VS Seeker our draw supporters from the discard pile into our hand. We also have 2 Lysandre to Lysandre things like a Shaymin. Get a very easy knockout because we can very easily hit for 100 damage. All we need to do to hit for 100 damage is have 4 Darkness Energies in play, 2 on the Darkrai and maybe 2 on Giratina-EX. All we need to get 2 Darkness Energies on Giratina-EX is attach a Double Dragon Energy. That's all we need to do to get 2 Darkness Energies on Giratina. And then we need a Fighting Fury Belt on our Darkrai, and just like that we hit for 110 damage, which is enough to knock out a Shaymin. And then we have 1 Hex Maniac. Hex Maniac is going to act as our Garbodor if our opponent Lysandred out our Garbodor and knocked it out, because typically if you're up against Greninja Break, they will want to try to target your Garbodor to knock it out. So if they do that, you can still Hex Maniac while you try to set up another Garbodor. And finally we have 1 Cassius as the last supporter. Cassius takes the place of AZ in this deck because we don't really want to AZ up our Pokemon and discard the Double Dragon Energies to a Giratina or an Hydreigon, for example. We want to preserve those energies so that we can reuse them over and over. So we are going to Cassius away our Giratina and our Hydreigon. If they are close to the deck out, prevent my opponent from getting an easy 2 prizes. That is the one reason why Cassius is in this deck. And then I think we have arrived at the end of the deck analysis. I do have 1 Escape Rope as a means of retreating and switching between our Pokemon as well as our opponent's bench Pokemon and active Pokemon, because our opponent is also forced to switch. In addition to the 3 Float Stones, you might think that is overkill here with retreating options because we already have 3 Float Stones, but believe me, the Escape Rope has a great utility because it forces your opponent to switch, and sometimes you can actually use this Escape Rope as a Lysandre. If your opponent only has one benched Pokemon, he doesn't get a choice, he needs to promote that benched Pokemon, and you basically get to target it for free when you use this Escape Rope. So Escape Rope and then 3 Float Stones, a high count of Float Stones because we want to guarantee ourselves Float Stones on our Garbodor as early on in the game as possible. And that is it for the deck analysis. That is it for this deck analysis for this Meta Mondays. Leave a like if you enjoy the upcoming battles, because I am going to go into the versus ladder and see how well this deck performs. I'll see you there. We are starting off against GTIKE W, no not W, YE1990, Jesus Christ, what kind of name is that? That is so hard to pronounce. GTQI, let's go with that. He's playing a fighting deck, a water deck and a colorless deck, which is pretty bad for us since we are fighting weak, or at least our Darkrai is, so we will have to go with the Giratina. We start off with the Giratina, but a very bad hand. A very, very bad hand, and it's a Medicham deck. Medicham with Octillery and maybe Shaymin as well, something like that. Possibly Regirock. There is some strong energies. We wanna go with the Chaos Wheel from the Giratina, prevent my opponent from attaching strong energies from his hand, from attaching Focus Ashes, and from attaching benching stadiums, playing down stadiums. That's why Giratina is so great here as a counter to fighting decks. We will get to draw into 3 more cards from the mulligans from our opponents, which tells me he might not play a lot of basics, maybe 8 or so for Meditites, 2 Shaymin and 2 Remoraids. So we'll draw into 3 more cards. We need the cards. There is a baby Yveltal, fantastic, because this baby Yveltal has got fighting resistance. Yeah, that is a fantastic Pokemon for us to start off with. And there is a Carbink. This baby Yveltal can hit through the Carbink with the safeguard. So my opponent is playing Carbink and Medicham, which is a deck I'm going to feature next week. I'm going to feature this exact deck next week, although I don't play water typing in it. So that's a bit curious here. Oh, we even get the Darkrai. I'm going to bench the Darkrai despite it being fighting weak, since we might be able to power it up on the bench, and then we can, after we've powered it up, come in and when it KO a Medicham, for example, we will attach an energy to the baby Yveltal, attach a Floatstone to the Trubbish. We shall retreat the Trubbish, and then I'm going to go for an N. I would have loved to Lysandre that Meditites. I would have done that if we had an Ultra Ball, then I could have discarded an energy and then get that energy onto the Giratina using the Oblivion Wing. But alas, we don't have an Ultra Ball to do that, so we'll have to go with an N here. We need to set up a little bit better, find some Max Elixirs possibly, and an Ultra Ball from this Trainer's Mail would be fantastic, so we can Ultra Ball away this energy here. And there it is, there is the Ultra Ball. We also have a VS Seeker and a Cassius. No need for those at the moment, so what we will do is we will discard this VS Seeker and this energy. I'm going to attach a Muscle Band to my Yveltal. What are we going to grab? That's a good question here. We have the Garbodor for the next turn, so we don't need to grab a Garbodor. I am going to grab the other Giratina, but we don't have it. So I might as well just go for a Shaymin here. Draw some more, try to find Max Elixirs to power up the Giratina on the bench. Possibly hit with the Giratina in the next turn. All we need is 2 Max Elixirs in this turn and in the next turn. Sycamore and energy, not very good there, not very good. So let's hit for the Oblivion Wing and power up the Giratina. Actually, we only need 1 Max Elixir and a double Dragon Energy. That's all we need to power it up for the next turn. However, we also need to attach to our Yveltal if we want to retreat this baby Yveltal. So we won't be able to attack with the Giratina in the next turn, even if we power it up, unless we find our Escape Rope. There's a level ball for a Medicham. The Medicham will probably come out and hit for 50 times 2 is 100, possibly 70 times 2 if my opponent finds another strong energy. There's a Muscle Band, so our baby Yveltal will go down here. Will go down already. Maybe I should have powered up my Darkrai-EX instead of the Giratina to KO this Medicham. Fighting Stadium. That's a lot of things there for my opponent. Can he find the energy that he needs? He needs the energy. Yes, there's the energy. So we will get hit for 70 damage times 2 is 140. Because the Medicham doesn't care about weakness or resistance, which is unfortunate for us. And we get reshuffled. Our hand gets reshuffled. A Hoopa, Hex Maniac, Sycamore. And not a very good hand there from the N. And there's the Remoraid. There is the Remoraid. We wanted to see a Max Elixir. That is what we wanted to see. We will promote the Trubbish. Promote this Trubbish while we try to power up our Giratina to deal with this Medicham. Leave my opponent with just a Carbink and no other attacker ready to go, because he didn't bench another Meditite. So this is going to be a huge turn for us. Can we power up our Giratina? Can we take the knockout? A double Dragon Energy and a Max Elixir is all we need. And there is an energy. That is not what we want to see. I am going to bench. Am I going to bench another Trubbish? I am not going to bench another Trubbish. I am going to discard this entire hand. Dig through my deck. Try to find a Shaymin maybe. The Max Elixir. Alright, alright. So we did get the double dragon energy. That is something. Can we find the Max Elixir? We haven't used a single Max Elixir. And I have some ends. Do I want to use my Super Rods? I don't think so. I'm going to Fighting Fury Belt the Giratina. I do want to preserve my Super Rod, so I am actually going to get rid of these Escape Rope and the Hydreigon. And I'm going to grab a Shaymin. I'm going to grab a Shaymin indeed. Try to find my Max Elixirs. We have 4 Max Elixirs. We should be able to get at least one. At least one Max Elixir. We should be able to get that from these 4 cards. There is an Ultra Ball. No Max Elixir as of yet. No Max Elixir. So we are going to discard this Lysandre, this energy, and grab our last Shaymin if we have it. We do not have our last Shaymin. What a terrible, terrible turn of events here. This is just terrible. So let's evolve into our Garbodor. And then we will... What shall we do? We will retreat into the Darkrai. Let my opponent have a shot at the Darkrai. Actually not, that Darkrai is going to get KO'd. And let's just let the Shaymin get knocked out here. I cannot believe we missed out there. We completely missed out on our Max Elixirs. There's no luck for us in this game so far. Not a single drop of luck for us. Jesus. That was so sad. That was so sad. Sycamore from my opponent. He will be able to find some more Meditites. Discards an Escape Rope. Target Whistle. Alright. My opponent plays Target Whistle. And there's another Meditite. So now my opponent did manage to find another Meditite. We will need to try to come back here somehow. Some way, somehow. An energy. So this Meditite is going to be ready very soon. Trainer's Mail. I cannot believe what just happened there. I cannot believe it. Focus Sash. Are you kidding me? My opponent finds a Focus Sash. See, that is why we needed that Chaos Wheel. That is why we needed our Chaos Wheel in a previous turn. Yoga Kick for 90 and 90 more. Oh. Let's promote our Garbodor. We are down to... We are 3 prizes behind in the game. And my opponent has that Focus Sash there. Let's attach this Floatstone to a Shaymin maybe. Yes, let's attach it to a Shaymin. And then let's shuffle back some energies here into our deck. And then we will go for the end. We should be able to get the one energy that we need. And possibly some Max Elixirs right now. Let's reshuffle our opponent's hand as well. There is a Max Elixir. We get a double dragon energy. I am going to Max Elixir onto... the Darkrai, not onto my Giratina, because we have that double dragon energy. We need to power up another attacker here, a backup attacker. Yes, that is good. That is good right here. Alright, now we are talking. Let's attach the double dragon energy. Let's take a look at the Trainer's Mail. Max Elixir, another Max Elixir. Might as well get it out. We are going to Max Elixir onto the Shaymin if we can. Yes, we can Max Elixir onto the Shaymin, so we can Sky Return the Shaymin, possibly against the Focus Sash from our opponent there in the next turn. Then we shall retreat into the Giratina and Chaos Wheel, prevent my opponent from using any more Focus Sashes. And take 1 prize. Finally, we take the first prize of this game. What do we get? Another Giratina. Yes, that is good. Another Giratina. We get some flexibility here. My opponent promotes the Carbink with the Floatstone, because it has the Floatstone, so my opponent can freely retreat into the Meditite. He needs to find another Medicham here. Can he find another Medicham? He used 2 VS Seekers already. And a teammates, of course he has a teammates from the end. Why would he not have a teammates from that end? Oh man, this is not looking good whatsoever. We will get hit for a ton of damage. My opponent will attach basic energy and then evolve into the... Ooh, evolves into the Carbink Break. Is going to accelerate strong energies from the discard pile, I think. My opponent still needs the energy, still needs a regular basic energy to attach to the Carbink Break. Strong energy he cannot use because, ooh, retreats into the Remoraid. He might have gotten out the strong energy by accident there with the teammates. He might have actually gotten out the strong energy there, which is a huge mistake from my opponent to get out that strong energy. Do we have a Lysandre in our discard pile? This Max Elixir fails. Yes, we do have a Lysandre. I'm going to knock out that Medicham. I'm going to leave myself without a hand, but I'm fine with that. We are down to 13 cards. We should be able to find some more Sycamores there, possibly from the prizes. So we are going to get rid of that Focus Sash straight away. Prevent that Focus Sash from acting up in the next turn. And in the next turn we are going to knock out this Medicham. There's no doubt about it, unless my opponent retreats it, which he can, because it only has a single retreat cost, so he can retreat into the Carbon Break and accelerate with the Carbon Break if my opponent wants to do that. But I think we actually have a shot at the game here. And there it is, there is the victory from my opponent. We actually managed to pull off this game despite a terrible start. We managed to come back somehow. I think my opponent made a huge mistake with his teammates, because we only saw one card being played from that teammates. I think he got out that strong energy. I think that's what must have happened there. Got out the strong energy, realized he could not attach it, and then he was stuck with a dead hand there. Stuck with a dead hand from the end. So Giratina-EX MVP versus Medicham. Let's see if we can find ourselves another opponent. Continuing on, we are facing Hero.231 with a Darkness, a Metal, and a Colorless deck. Another Darkness, Metal, and Colorless deck. Don't tell me this is Mega Scissor again. We will go first, try to set up first, and we see the Metal sleeve, so it might be another Metal Toolbox deck with Zoroark in it or something like that. We start off with the Trubbish. We have a Floatstone for the Trubbish. We have a Sycamore. I'll probably Sycamore and after I use my Shaymin. Yeah, that's probably what I'm going to do. And what are we up against? It is a Shaymin from our opponents. We get an energy there. Oh boy, that is not what we wanted to see. Let's bench our Shaymin for one card. Can we get an Ultra Ball from the top deck maybe? Discard 2 energies there. We get a Double Dragon energy. I should not have used my Shaymin there. Now I have to discard all those energies and the Double Dragon energy. An Ultra Ball for another Trubbish. Let's discard the Trubbish. Let's discard... Let's discard the Super Rods. No, let's discard the Shaymin. That's a silly idea of me to discard the Super Rod. We'll grab the Hoopa for Giratina. Giratina, Darkrai, and that's probably it. I want to keep a spot for the baby Yveltal possibly. So let's grab these two. We don't really need anything else at the moment. In the next turn we are going to Sycamore after we Super Rod back some energies and the Shaymin into our deck. Yes, that's going to be our play here. So let's attach a Double Dragon energy and we shall pass the turn. See what our opponent does. I'm going to shuffle back the Shaymin and 2 energies in my deck. Increase our chances of hitting the Max Elixir. If we can find a Max Elixir from the Sycamore, I'll probably attach the Floatstone to the Hoopa. That's probably what I'm going to do. An Ultra Ball discards a Metal Energy. This is another Metal deck. An N and a Metal Energy in the discard pile. What are we going to see? A Genesect-EX. Alright. It is not Mega Scissor. It is Genesect with Bronzong and possibly Zoroark. I think that's what we are up against. So my opponent can stand in. Oh, AZs up the Shaymin. Promotes the Genesect. And energy onto the Genesect as well. And there's the Shaymin. We definitely want to get out our Garbodor. Shut down the Bronzongs from our opponent. So my opponent cannot continuously power up the Genesects. And also cannot stand in with the Zoroark to power up the Genesect. That is going to be our play here. Can my opponent find any Bronzors right now? If he wants to stand a chance at using the Metal Links, he needs to find his Bronzongs right here, right now. There's a Genesect. That's not a Bronzor. And a pass of the turn. Alright, no Bronzors. We get another Giratina. Do I want to bench the Giratina? I don't think so. I think I prefer the Darkrais, so I'm just going to discard the Giratina. I will shuffle back the Shaymin and these 2 energies. We are going to keep open that spot for a Shaymin or for a baby Yveltal. We shall Sycamore our hand away. Try to find another Double Dragon energy and possibly the Garbodor, even though we don't really need it at the moment. Just an energy right there. We have a Fighting Fury Belt. Parallel City. I'm going to discard 1 energy and Hydreigon. I know we cannot get back the Hydreigon, but we don't really need it against my opponent. We are going to grab a Shaymin. I will bench the stadium. I think, yes, let's bench the stadium. And let's try to lock that stadium in place with our Giratina. I could attach a Giratina and hope I find a Max Elixir. I could attach the Darkness Energy to the Giratina and hope I find a Max Elixir. But I also want to find actually the Double Dragon Energy possibly. Alright, so we don't get Double Dragon Energy. We do get Trainer's Mail, so we could find a Max Elixir from the Trainer's Mail. Let's see here. Another Trainer's Mail. And no, we don't find the Max Elixir, so we will have to pause a turn without attacking here. Very unfortunate. I'm going to put this energy on my Darkrai, and I am going to have to pause a turn. Might as well retreat into the Hoopa. Don't want to see a knockout on our Trubbish. Alright then. What is my opponent going to do? Can he finally find his Bronzors? Can he find a counter stadium? If anything, he needs to try to find a counter stadium, otherwise he will be forced to play with just 3 Pokemon on the bench if we can get our Giratina off in the next turn. And I think we stand a decent chance at getting our Giratina off, because we can Sycamore for 7 more cards, which should give us a Double Dragon Energy or a Max Elixir and a Darkness Energy. And we have 2 attackers that we can attack with as well. We have the Darkrai and the Giratina-EX. There's a Startling Megaphone discarding all of our tool cards. Are you kidding me? 2 Floatstones in a discard pile and a Fighting Fury Belt. Luckily we have some more tool cards, so we can still attach to our Garbodor. A little bit unfortunate there, that Startling Megaphone. And our Hoopa is stuck in the active spot. Are you freaking kidding me? Our Hoopa is stuck. Do we have our Escape Rope? We should have our Escape Rope somewhere in the deck. It should be available to us. Did my opponent discard a Battle Compressor with an Ultra Ball? I think he might have done that. Bronzor, there is a Bronzor. He is going to bench that one Bronzor. Has he got any energies in the discard pile? Only 1. And we might just see a pass of the turn here, if that is all my opponent can do. An energy on a Genesect. And a VS Seeker for a Sycamore. Or an AZ. Not an N. That's interesting. I wonder why he did not N. Well, probably didn't want to give us some extra cards, I guess. A Trainer's Mail. Can he find a counter stadium? Maybe a Skyfield or something like that. An Ultra Ball, so could grab a Shaymin, but he cannot bench the Shaymin. He could grab a Bronzong for the next turn. But I don't think he should do that. I think he should wait with grabbing a Bronzong right now, because we can always reshuffle his hand with an N possibly. If we find an N, we get a Max Elixir. That is excellent. I am going to Max Elixir onto my Giratina. That way we only need to find a Darkness Energy. Am I going to Ultra Ball? I will Ultra Ball. I will Ultra Ball away the Hex Maniac and the VS Seeker, because we are going to Sycamore anyways. And I'm going to grab my Garbodor. Hopefully shut down the Bronzongs from our opponent this turn. If we can find our last Floatstone, or if we can find something like a Muscle Band or a Fighting Fury Belt. Max Elixir, an N. There's a Muscle Band and another Max Elixir, yes. We'll Max Elixir onto the Darkrai. And then we'll have to pass our turn. In the next turn, we can Cassius the Hoopa. I could have attached my Muscle Band to my Garbodor to shut down the Bronzongs. Maybe I should have done that. Actually, I possibly should have done that. Trainer's Mail. Yeah, I think I should have done that. Just a little bit sad that we couldn't get our Giratina going yet. We are wasting a lot of time, and there is the counter stadium, so now my opponent can actually get a lot of Pokemon on his bench. We needed to get our Giratina going in the previous turn, but we missed out on it big time. That is actually not so good. Why is my opponent not grabbing the Bronzong? Alright, so there he goes. I think he's grabbing the Bronzong finally. Discards a Sycamore and a Bronzong break. There is a Bronzong at last. My opponent gets out the Bronzong. If we don't find our Floatstone, In the next turn, I'm going to attach the Muscle Band to my Giratina. I'm probably going to go with Sycamore, not with the Cassius. And there's a Sycamore from my opponent. Because I wanna find my Escape Rope if I can. Our Giratina is hitting for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 100, 120. That is not enough for a knockout. With a Muscle Band and a double Dragon Energy, that's actually enough for a knockout on a Genesect. There's another Genesect, the Bronzong. Oh boy, this is not looking too good now. The Metalings onto the Genesect on the bench. Can we top deck our Escape Rope possibly? Can my opponent knock out our Hoopa? No, I don't think he will. He can hit for 160 at most, so he's going to preserve the energies on the Genesect. Just hit for 100 damage. What is our top deck going to be? That is going to be very important. A VS Seeker. A VS Seeker. Well, I will Cassius. I'm just going to attack with my Darkrai. And we are going to attach this Muscle Band to the Garbodor for now. Do not put it on the Darkrai. I'm gonna bench another Darkrai as well, and we shall hit for the Dark Pulse for a bit of damage here. We should stay alive in the next turn, unless my opponent decides to give up the Genesect, which he might, because he could attach an energy, then discard all energies to knock out our Darkrai and give up the Genesect EX. That's definitely a possibility. There's another Bronzong, which my opponent cannot use at the moment, unless he uses another Startling Megaphone. I would be quite surprised if my opponent played two Startling Megaphones though, so I think we should be safe for now. We definitely want to find some more Max Elixirs. We haven't found a whole lot, only 2. I would love to find some more Max Elixirs. 3 energies in the discard pile. And a Rapid Blaster, not for a knockout, just for a ton of damage. Is definitely going to discard the energies attached to the Genesect right now. I think there's no way my opponent is not going to do that. Or actually just decides to go for 100 damage, 120. Discards 1 energy, I'm not sure why, because we are going to get the knockout here. We get an Ultra Ball, we don't really need an Ultra Ball. I think I might just go for an N. Preserve my VS Seeker for a Lysandre on the Shaymin possibly. Double Dragon Energy and an Ultra Ball. And let's see, I'm going to discard the Garbodor and the Trainer's Mail. We need to preserve our energies, we don't have a Super Rod anymore. And we are going to get out a baby Yveltal. Might as well attach this energy to the baby Yveltal. And then we'll hit for a knockout with the Dark Pulse. Take the first 2 prizes of this game. What can we get of the prizes? It is a Fighting Fury Belt and a Darkness Energy. That is good. I am definitely going to attach the Fighting Fury Belt to my Giratina. Force my opponent to discard some energies if he wants to get a 2-hit KO on the Giratina-EX. A Trainer's Mail. What could my opponent get from a Trainer's Mail? A Float Stone, alright. He can still attach Float Stones. We haven't shut down his tool cards and his special energies or his stadiums yet. Fighting Fury Belt on the Genesect, which is okay, I think, because we can hit for 120 with our Giratina. And there's a Float Stone on the Shaymin and another Float Stone as well. Lots of tool cards, Jesus Christ, 5 tool cards. What the heck was going on there? What the heck was that? So many tool cards right there. I am going to promote my Giratina in the next turn and look my opponent out of tool cards. Even though it seems like it was a little bit too late indeed. Can my opponent find another energy for the Genesect though, because he doesn't have another energy on his Genesect yet. 3 energies in the discard pile and there is another energy, so we will see the knockout here on our Darkrai-EX for 100 damage. Rapid Blaster, my opponent is not going to discard any energies, takes 2 prizes. But I think for now we have a slight advantage. We definitely have a slight advantage. I will attach Darkness Energy, maybe not. I'm just going to attach the Double Dragon Energy here. And we are going to attach the Fighting Fury Belt as well. Hit for the Chaos Wheel for 110 damage. Threaten the knockout on this Genesect EX in the next turn. And then we can always promote our Baby Yveltal. Even retreat into the Baby Yveltal if we want to. Discard 1 Darkness Energy and 1 Double Dragon Energy. That was my battery. Let's plug in my battery. Don't want to die here in the middle of this awesome match. Zoroark from my opponent. He is going to try to get out the Zoroark. Even though he cannot stand in, he can always just attack with the... what is it called? Mind Jack. With the Mind Jack. After I knock out one of his Pokemon. We also see the Bronzong Break. Bronzong Break can definitely hit for a bit of damage on our Shaymin if my opponent manages to attach 4 energies to the Bronzong Break. A Float Stone on our Garbodor. Oh no, my opponent is going to knock out our Garbodor. That is pretty crucial here, because now my opponent gets the use of his Bronzongs. He can actually start using his Bronzongs. But at least our Giratina does not get damaged, which I think gives us a great opportunity here to Lysandre the Shaymin from our opponent and take the game that way. I think that gives us a fantastic opportunity to pull it off. If we can find our Lysandre, I unfortunately cannot Sycamore here, because then I would deck out, then I would deck myself out. So we will just have to be happy with the knockout with the Giratina. By taking a knockout with the Giratina for 110 damage, maybe we can find a Lysandre from the prizes. A Sycamore and a Max Elixir. That is not what we were hoping for. We wanted to see the Lysandre 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 energies in play or in my hands and 4 there. So Max Elixir doesn't do anything for me because I don't have any energies left in my deck. This Max Elixir is completely useless. Can we maybe top deck a Lysandre? Can we top deck a Lysandre here? That is what we need to look for. I think I'm going to retreat the Giratina while I attack with my Darkrai. Possibly preserve the Giratina for a Lysandre. Our Darkrai is for sure going to get a knockout on this Bronzong Break, but I've got a feeling my opponent will retreat the Bronzong Break to the bench. My opponent can power up the Genesect in one turn right now, or possibly even just the Zoroark. Is going to power up the Zoroark. The Zoroark can hit for 4 times 30 plus 10 is 130 damage onto our Giratina-EX. But then we will knock out the Zoroark. We definitely will knock it out. There's a stand-in from the Zoroark. This is going to be a crucial turn here. Can we find a Lysandre? Can we close out this game right now? And it's an N. It is an N. It's not a Lysandre. So I'm going to attach to my Darkrai. And I'm going to take a knockout on my Darkrai with... on the Zoroark with the Darkrai. We'll discard a Double Dragon Energy and a Darkness Energy to retreat the Giratina. We are hitting for enough damage against the Zoroark, and I think we are going to end then possibly get back our Max Elixir into our hands. That would be fantastic. Yes, we do, and we even get an Escape Rope, so we can Max Elixir onto our Giratina once again. Get it ready for the knockouts. At some point here, we can also get back some energies with our Yveltal to power up our Giratina-EX completely. For now, we'll hit for the Dark Pulse for the KO for 140 damage. What do we get from the prizes? Is it gonna be a Lysandre? And it is a Lysandre. Alright, we have the game in our hand right now. We have the game right here. Even if my opponent Lysandres something out, we have our own Escape Rope, so we can Escape Rope first and then Lysandre Shaymin. Unless we see an N, this is going to be GG. There is no way this is not going to be GG. My opponent cannot attach a Fighting Fury Belt to the Shaymin, so the Shaymin will get knocked out because we are hitting for 140 damage. Unless my opponent uses an Enhanced Hammer and discards our Double Dragon Energy, then we are only hitting for 100 damage on the Shaymin. 100 only. But then we can still Lysandre a Bronzong, so we definitely still have the knockout then, because my opponent has these Bronzongs with 90 HP and Metal Links onto the Genesect with the Muscle Band. Actually, the Genesect can knock out our Darkrai. I forgot about that. Because of the Muscle Bands, my opponent can do that pretty easily. All he needs to do is attach 3 energies and then discard 3 energies from the Genesect. That is enough to knock out our Darkrai. So our Giratina will have to... actually no, we don't have the game. Because we don't have the last energy for our Giratina. And there it is, there is the Genesect. The Genesect does come out. Actually, I think we lost the game here. Unless my opponent doesn't knock out our Darkrai-EX. Fortunately for us, he doesn't have a float stone for this Genesect anymore. So he needs to find an escape rope. That's what my opponent needs to do. He needs to find an escape rope. We will promote the baby Yveltal. And we are actually going to... Oh, we get a double dragon energy. We actually had another double dragon energy. Oh, we have two more. I can't believe I didn't see that. So we will take the game here. This is still game after all. Wow, that was such a confusing turn right there. That was such a confusing turn. 7 energies in the discard pile. Yeah, we didn't have any more darkness energies, but I forgot we still had double dragon energies. That is still a pretty lucky top deck though. So escape rope it is. What is my opponent going to promote with the escape rope? It is the Bronzong Break. Bronzong Break will definitely stay alive. So we need to Lysandre out the Shaymin and take the knockout on the Shaymin with our Giratina-EX. Could have gone for the Bronzongs as well, but I wanna knock out the Shaymin here. 110 damage, and that is it. That is GG for my opponent. Jesus Christ, that was a pretty close game there. After that start, I thought we had the game in the bag with our Garbodor, but we didn't at all. 730 damage dealt versus 750 for my opponent. Giratina-EX MVP versus Genesect EX. Let's see if we can find ourselves one more final opponent. Nurgle Probe is going to be our next opponent with a Psychic, Lightning, Colorless and a Fairy deck, as well as a Metagross coin. Not too sure what we are up against. I've never really seen Fairy be combined with Lightning and Psychic. Except for in a Rainbow Road deck, but then I'm expecting my opponent to play some more different types of Pokemon. So we'll promote the Darkrai. We have an Ultra Ball for a Hoopa. This is actually a really good hand. This is a fantastic hand. We are going to Ultra Ball for a Hoopa, I think. Oh, it's Night March with Fairy? That is strange. That is definitely strange. Let's discard the Lysandre and the Floatstone. Maybe not. Let's keep the Floatstone in our hands. Attach the Floatstone to our Darkrai. We are going to discard the VS Seeker. We have no use for the VS Seeker right now. And we are going to Hoopa for a Giratina. Attach a double Dragon Energy to our Giratina. We need to get our Giratina going as soon as possible. We are even going to grab another Giratina and the Hydreigon just to have some free retreat between our Giratinas. And then I think we shall bench our Shaymin, fill in the last spot on our bench with the Shaymin. And I think that's going to be the play here. Might as well attach this Floatstone and then bench the Hydreigon, bench the Shaymin. I could have gone with the Sycamore. Maybe I should have gone with the Sycamore and preserved that spot. But I want to find some Max Elixirs if I can. And there is the Max Elixir. Fantastic. There it is. But it fails. Never mind. It fails. Question is now, I could pass my turn, preserve my stadium in the next turn, hope I get a double Dragon Energy, and then bench the stadium. But I think I'm going to play safe here, bench my stadium and Sycamore, get myself a double Dragon Energy for the next turn, draw through my deck a little bit more. And indeed, I think that was the right choice because we drew into a terrible hand from that Sycamore. So we shall end our turn. In the next turn, we are going to Sycamore again and hopefully find our double Dragon Energy then. Yeah, Jesus, that was actually a really bad hand. That's a terrible hand. We are going to be forced to discard 3 energies. Hopefully we have our Super Rod so we can shuffle back 2 energies and the Yveltal, the baby Yveltal. That's what I want to do. My opponent needs to get 10 Night Marches in the discard pile if he wants to knock out our Darkrai-EX straight away, which is not very easy. Certainly not when you are forced to discard a Battle Compressor from an Acrobike. There's a DCE. He needs the Counter Stadium, the Dimension Valley. But that might be the only DCE that my opponent can attack this entire game, can attach this entire game, if we find our double Dragon Energy in the next turn, or a Darkness Energy and a Max Elixir that actually does not let us down, unlike the first Max Elixir there. If we can pull that off, then we can lock my opponent out of attaching DCEs. force him to attach basic energies if he plays any at all, which is not very likely. An Ultra Ball discarding a Lampent and a Sycamore. Alright. A Lampent and a Sycamore. What is my opponent going to get? A Shaymin maybe? A Mew. Okay, Mew. Mew can definitely attack with just a single energy. Puzzle of Time. Is my opponent going to play a Shaymin? Yes, there's a Shaymin. He is going to try to find the Dimension Valley. So far, no Dimension Valley in the discard pile. There it is, there's a Dimension Valley. So my stadium does get countered. That is our one and only stadium down the drain, which means Dimension Valley is there to stay for the rest of the game. Slightly worrying, but I think it's okay, because we have our Giratina here to lock my opponent out of DCEs. Even if he has the Dimension Valley, I think the DCE lock is most important here. Is paramount to get going. Yep. And also the fact that my opponent cannot attach Fighting Fury Belts if we attack with the Chaos Wheel continuously, which means we can also get a knockout on a Joltik with our Yveltal and even on a Pumpkaboo, because there won't be any Fighting Fury Belts in play. Discards a DCE and grabs a Shaymin. He can, and another Puzzle of Time. Now my opponent can only get back 2 DCEs at most, which is last 2 puzzles. Set up from the Shaymin. Is digging for the Battle Compressors. He is digging for the Battle Compressors. For now, my opponent only hits for a miserable 20 damage, 14 minus 20, because of the Psychic Resistance. There's another Mew. And there it is, 20 damage from Night March. Oh my goodness. Poor opponent. Oh, and we top deck the double Dragon Energy. I am not going to discard my hand. There is no way I will. And we are going to hit for the Chaos Wheel for 100 damage. Lock my opponent real tight here. What do we get from the prizes? Let's hope it's another double Dragon Energy. It is. Oh no, another Darkness Energy. 4 Darkness Energy in our hands. Well, I might as well just sit here and attach them to my Giratina until I've attached 2, and then possibly Sycamore my hand away. There's a Battle Compressor from my opponent, discarding 3 Lampants, so now we get hit for 60 times 2 is 120, and there's just a Psychic Energy, so my opponent does play just Psychic Energies. Does play just Psychic Energies. We could actually get knocked out here if my opponent compresses some more Night Marchers. Damn, I wasn't expecting just Psychic Energies. Typically, you don't see them. And a Puzzle of Time, which means my opponent cannot get back these basic Psychic Energies anymore, because he used a 3rd puzzle to guide his top deck. We will get for a fair amount of damage here. Night March for 120, which is definitely a 2-hit knockout if my opponent can find another basic energy. Escape Rope. Will I Sycamore? I think I will. It is time. We need to Sycamore. We need to find a double Dragon Energy and some Max Elixirs for the next turn, if they can even hit with so many energies in the discard pile. Floatstone. Double Dragon Energy. Max Elixir. Can we hit it? Yes, we do hit it. I should actually... That was a mistake. Don't do that. I should have used my Super Rod before I used my Max Elixir. I didn't see I had the Super Rod there. I was too quick by using... too quick to use the Max Elixir. So at least now we have Baby Yveltal to attack and some more energies back into our deck. We will Chaos Wheel once again. In the next turn, if this Giratina goes down, we can promote another Giratina. And then we should be able to close out the game. 2 Giratinas should suffice here for us to take the game, I think. I don't think my opponent runs 4 basic energies. That would be a whole lot of basic energies. I'll be quite surprised if it did. Night March for the knockouts for 120. Actually, all we need to do is Lysandre the Joltik, and that would force my opponent to find another Joltik. Let's see. I'm also going to power up the Darkrai if I can. Hex Maniac. We could Hex Maniac, which forces my opponent to attack with the Joltik, and I think I will do that. Let's Hex Maniac. Let's then Chaos Wheel. We are not going to bench a Shaymin. Now my opponent is forced to promote the Joltik or Shaymin, and he does promote the Joltik. He knows, can we find a VS Seeker, our last VS Seeker, for another Hex Maniac? chaining Hex Maniacs is going to be pretty important here. If we want to make sure our Giratina doesn't get one hit KO'd at some point, but even if it does, we will have our Darkrai ready to go, which should buy us another turn. Well, actually not, because once our Darkrai is forced in the active spots, my opponent will have taken 4 prizes, so... And then it's very likely that he will one-hit KO our Darkrai. A Trainer's Mail from my opponents, maybe for another Battle Compressor. There's an Acrobike. Acrobike could find another basic energy for the next turn. It's definitely possible if my opponent plays anymore, and I think he does because he keeps playing, so... Oh, discards a VS Seeker. That is one less VS Seeker my opponent can use for a Lysandre. We want to avoid Lysandres. Well, we actually don't need to worry about Lysandres, I think, because my opponent wants to deal with the Giratina. Actually needs to deal with the Giratina here. Town map. What's in my opponent's prizes? Let's have a look. A Lysandre is prized, and a Fighting Fury Belt, as well as a Shaymin. There's a Sycamore, discarding another Pumpkaboo. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. That's 160. We definitely want to find a Fighting Fury Belt in the next turn for our Giratina. We really want to find a Fighting Fury Belt to make sure our Giratina will stay alive, unless my opponent discards 10 Night Marchers total. Needs to discard 2 more to knock out the Giratina with a Fighting Fury Belt. And then Fighting Fury Belt his own Pokemon, but he cannot do that, so he actually must discard 11 Night Marchers. And a basic energy right there. Can we get a Lysandre maybe? I'm gonna attach a Floatstone here, attach a Floatstone there. And then attach this energy to my Darkrai. Try to find a VS Seeker for a Lysandre, or try to find the Lysandre itself. Trainer's Mail. Oh boy, what do we do? Ultra Ball, I'm going to discard the Trubbish, and this energy, I think, how many energies are in the discard pile? 2 in play, 5 in play, so I have 3 more after I discard this energy. That should be fine. We will get out another Trubbish, thin out our deck a little bit. There's a Lysandre and a VS Seeker. We have a chance here at finding either the Lysandre or the VS Seeker. Can we get it? Yes, we do. We do get the Lysandre. Fantastic. So we are going to Lysandre that Mew and deal with the Mew. We don't want to deal with that basic energy, and I think we have got the game here. I think that is it. That is GG against Night March with Darkrai, Giratina. A Fighting Fury Belt for our Giratina. Fantastic. We could get hit for a Gnaw for 10 damage from the Joltik. That is a possibility. Battle Compressor is going to discard the last Night Marchers. Maybe not. Ooh, a Lysandre. We could see a Lysandre on a Shaymin. That would force us to find another energy. That's definitely a possibility, because we have attached all of our Flowstones. Our Escape Rope is in the discard pile, and there it is, Lysandre on a Shaymin. So we need to find another energy here, another Darkness energy. We should definitely be able to do that. Did I forget to attach my Fighting Fury Belt in a previous turn? I probably did. I don't know why I didn't do that, or did we get that from the prizes? No, we got it from the prizes, I think. So let's attach the Fighting Fury Belt. Let's Cassius away the Shaymin. That Cassius top deck, that was that was fantastic. And we might as well bench this baby Yveltal. You never know when it can come in handy. Chaos Wheel for another prize. All we need to do is take 1 prize now. There is no way my opponent can come back from this. This is it. This is GG. He can Lysandre out our baby Yveltal, but even if it does, all we need is 1 energy to knock out this Joltik. That's all we need. So his best bet is actually a Lysandre on the Shaymin here. And there it is. Another Lysandre on the other Shaymin. He knows what he needs to do. He is not giving up. Props to my opponent for that. Props to my opponent for sure. Although I think we might see a concede here if we find an energy. An N, we are not going to go for an N. We are just going to Sycamore. We have more energies, and there it is. We get the energy for the win here. We'll retreat into the Giratina and take the knockout on this Joltik. I think we played this game pretty well. We took our resources into account. We measured out our resources here, made sure we had options available at all times, even after attaching the Floatstones, because we had enough energies to retreat our Pokemon. I think I attached my Floatstones to the correct Pokemon there. I could have attached them to the Shaymins, but then we would have seen a Lysandre on my Hoopa, and Hoopa has a 2 retreat cost, so you don't want to deal with that. The Flow Zone on the Hydreigon wasn't really necessary because it has a 1 retreat cost because my opponent had a Dimension Valley in play, so that Flow Zone could have gone to Shaymin possibly. I think that might actually have been possibly a better play because the Hydreigon can attack, but hey, the Shaymin can also attack for a Sky Return for 30, which is a knockout on those Joltics. Let's take a look at the stats here. We dealt 620 damage versus 260 for my opponent. Giratina-EX versus a Mew, and I think this is going to be it for today. Again, huge props to my opponent. Small applause here for sticking through the game with Giratina, because it's surely not fun as a Night March player to be facing Giratina. I also want to mention that this is definitely not a deck that has a guaranteed win against Night March. It has a definite advantage if you can set up your Giratina, but the Night March player has some outs if he plays basic energies like my opponent did.
Karp, 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 Karp.